we're digging into some of this stuff, man. We brought up a minute ago the idea of the inner child. I once told somebody, I don't remember who it was, that when I realized that my adult me has been the man that's been trying to protect the little boy that was abandoned, neglected, and abused back in the day. Once I realized that, half of my motivation was just protecting him, I realized, man, if you heal the boy, I think that's a quote, matter of fact.
Hmm.
If you heal the boy, you create the
Create
man,
the
or
man.
something like that. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
that up. But man, just that. What's your take on the whole inner child concept?
Well, for me, that was the key. That was you're looking for the core, the seed, the one thing that is causing all these issues. And for me, it was that isolated, lonely inner child. My father being critical like he was because his parents were critical and he didn't feel worthy enough or have the self love. And so his form of parenting was very critical. And so I learned to isolate and to hide and to be sneaky because as long as dad doesn't see me and I don't catch his attention, I'm cool. And so a lot of those critical moments, a lot of those things where, I would come up with some idea, kids have dreams and goals and things they want. I remember asking once because he was a private pilot. It's like, oh, I want to be a pilot. And instead of being like, hey son, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of studying. I think I was 12 at the time. He took like this phone book size. Yeah. Kids, a phone book is a very big book that used to have phone numbers in it, but it was phone book size. I mean, it was huge book and dropped it on the table from me. He's like, there you go. That's what you have to read. That's what you have to study. That's what you have to learn if you want to be a pilot. And at 12 years old, I was like, I'm good. That's way too much work. I don't want to do none of that. But those things like that, where he was in his own way, either trying to inspire me or just trying to give me a reality check of the world, caused me to be traumatized and to think less of myself, caused me to develop these patterns of soothing and addiction and stuff because I didn't feel good enough about myself because, well, if dad doesn't like me, then there must be something wrong with me. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that that was just his way of dealing with his own stuff. And then he passed down his stuff to me. And so, like any man nowadays, it's incumbent upon us to realize it's not up to dad anymore. And like in my case, in your case, dad's gone. Can't blame him anymore. It's up to us to fix it. So you got to do the inner child work and dig into because what's really interesting to me and what I found in my own process is that this big bad devil, this shadow, this demon that I've been fighting for 30 years was just this little part of me that just wanted some love and attention, but I was too busy soothing and distracting myself instead of investigating and digging out and going deep and finding out, well, why am I that way and what's causing this?
Yeah, man. I think, our generation that grew up drinking out of the water hose and just being home before the street lights came on. I think that's a common occurrence in our culture. Just the idea of self-soothing, um, you know, and and not only that, but what we got from our parents was some of it was an extension of theirs. Yeah, when I look back at my dad, to your point, man, I can get exactly what you're saying because he was abused in a whole lot of different ways growing up, and so that's not an excuse. Uh, but to me, it helps me humanize him, as opposed to demonize him. And it also helps me point in the mirror and say, okay, well, okay, I can't do anything about that in the past. I can't do anything about him, but I sure enough can do something about, you know, making sure the buck stops here and making sure I heal that inner child. But so when you talk about that inner child and the healing of that inner child, I mean, where does that begin? Like, how does somebody do that?
Well, the internal family system model, which is the one that worked for me, you have to understand that there's pieces and parts of us. There's another therapist that called it part system reintegration. But within us, there's lots of parts and pieces. And if you ever stop and listen to the voices in your head, one sounds like dad, one sounds like mom, one sounds like somebody else. And you have all these different voices in your head, all trying to say different things or trying to protect you or do good by you with their own version. That's the internal family system. That's the internal family.